pawn d2, d4, pawn d7, d5, pawn c2, c4, pawn c7, c6, knight g1, f3, knight g8, f6, knight b1, c3, pawn e7, e6, pawn e2, e3, pawn a7, a6, pawn b2, b3, bishop f8, b4, bishop c1, d2, knight b8, d7, bishop f1, d3, castles kingside, castles kingside, queen d8, e7, bishop d3, c2, rook f8, d8, pawn a2, a3, bishop b4 takes pawn a3, rook a1 takes bishop a3, queen e7 takes rook a3, pawn c4, c5, pawn b7, b6, pawn b3, b4, knight f6, e4, knight c3 takes knight e4, pawn d5 takes knight e4, bishop c2 takes pawn e4, rook a8, b8, bishop e4 takes pawn h7, king g8 takes bishop h7, knight f3, g5, king h7, g8, queen d1, h5, knight d7, f6, queen h5 takes pawn f7, king g8, h8, queen f7, c7, bishop c8, d7, knight g5, f7, king h8, h7, knight f7 takes rook d8. Rook b8, c8. Queen c7 takes pawn b6. Knight f6, d5. Queen b6, a7. Rook c8 takes knight d8. Pawn e3, e4. Queen a3, d3. Pawn e4 takes knight d5. Queen d3 takes bishop d2. Queen a7, c7. Queen d2, g5. Pawn d5 takes pawn c6. Bishop d7, c8. Pawn h2, h3. Queen g5, d5. Rook f1, d1. Pawn e6, e5. Rook d1, d3. Pawn e5 takes pawn d4. Queen c7, e7. Bishop c8, f5. Rook d3, g3. Bishop f5, g6. Queen e7, h4.